Good evening and thank you for joining us for Live from the Theater Basement. I'm Chris Verrill, Executive Director at Theatricos Theater Company. We're going to go ahead and get started. As you can see on your wonderful little countdown clock there, get started in about 22 minutes at 7:30. Live from the Theater Basement is a new show. It will alternate between doing interviews with local arts experts. Today we'll interview the Sedona International Film Festival. And on the alternating weekends, we're going to do 10-minute short plays. Great way to bring art to you in your home and to support all art here in Northern Arizona. We're going to get started at 7:30. Stay with us. Thank you for tuning in to Live from the Theater Basement. I'm Chris Verrill, Theatricos Executive Director. This is a new show currently in development, and if you've got ideas for the show, we'd like to hear from you. If you know of a guest or an arts organization here in Northern California you think we should interview, we'd like to know that too. Our goal for this show, we tend to look far in the future. We want to think, where are we a year or two from now, and how is this new podcast streaming show advancing the mission of Theatricos in Flagstaff, but also helping to advance the admission of all arts organizations in Northern Arizona, which is why we love interviewing different organizations. Today, the Sedona International Film Festival. We've got the NAU Theater Department coming up, and a number of others that will be a great way to promote the arts in Northern Arizona long after our pandemic is behind us. One day, hopefully soon. Hey, we got some folks we want to thank. Our producer for this segment, Michael Louise Roulon, otherwise known as Candy Breath. We certainly appreciate the fact that he's organizing all of our interviews. Linda Sotero organizing our 10-minute plays with the good folks at Northern Arizona Playwriting Showcase. Our engineers extraordinaire, Matt Brewer and Paul Rosa, who are making sure that this whole wonderful Dog and Pony show works. And the most important person to thank is you. Thank you for tuning in. We certainly appreciate the fact that we're here. Gather around, we'll get started at 7:30. Thank you for tuning in to Live from the Theater Basement. It's 2 minutes before the show starts. We'll get started in just a little bit. I'm Chris Verrill, Theatricos Executive Director. The mission of this show, Live from the Theater Basement, is twofold. One, we want to encourage people to enjoy great art in your home. But the second mission is to encourage people to attend all sorts of arts organizations and arts events in Flagstaff and throughout northern Arizona. Expand the whole pool of arts here in northern Arizona, which is why we're interviewing the good folks at Sedona International Film Festival. We want to see what the heck they're up to. Well, you're going to get a chance to find out. Our interviewer today is Do Good, Be Good Executive Director Sharon Tewksbury Bloom. Also, by the way, serves on the Theatricos Board of Directors and has many, many more talents beyond that. That interview is coming your way in just a little bit. Stay with us. Today on Live from the Theater Basement, we interview Patrick Schweiss, Executive Director of the Sedona International Film Festival. Is there still a film festival this year? Spoiler alert, there is. We'll learn how. Live from the Theater Basement, streaming live on Sunday evenings at 7:30 p.m. and
restaurants at the Weatherford Hotel are open for lunch and dinner. All social distance, of course. Wear your mask and enjoy a great meal in historic downtown Flagstaff at the Weatherford Hotel.
Back to you in 3, 2.
Remember that answer because I'll probably ask you now. Welcome. I'm so glad that you could be here tonight, Patrick, to join us. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure. Absolutely.
Well, we're excited because I know that although you have been through a difficult time with your theater being closed for how long was it?
Almost 3 months, just shy of 3 months. Yeah.
Oh, that's rough. But you have exciting news, right? Because you just recently were starting to reopen.
Absolutely. We're in the same boat as a lot of our other nonprofit colleagues, including Theatricos and other performing agencies and film theaters and things. We had to close in mid-March. And luckily, we were just able to reopen last week, Friday, on June 12th. So we've had 9 days of films already. Of course, the scenario, the landscape looks much, much different, with limited seating and spaced seating for social distancing and things. We were just excited to welcome bodies and humans and patrons and wonderful supporters back into our theater to see films the way they were meant to be seen on the big screen.
Yeah, well, let's go back for a minute before we talk about what it's like today. How were you still doing anything while your theater was closed? What was it like for those few months when you weren't able to welcome people in the doors?
Right. We were, and thank you for asking that question. We were struggling with that at first. We just had finished our very successful 26th annual Sedona Film Festival in early March. We made it through just before this all hit. So we were very, very blessed to get that in, and we were kind of riding on a high. And then all of a sudden, COVID hit, and we were forced, of course, to close the theater for everyone's safety. And we really were struggling with, we didn't know how long it was going to be taking and how long it was going to go on. And we wanted to keep our patrons and our members and our supporters engaged while we were closed. So we came up with some really creative ways. And one of them, I was very fortunate because we had just finished our festival. I reached out to the short filmmakers from our recent festival, and there were over 70 of them, and asked for their permission to show their short films free of charge to our patrons and anyone that was on our eBlast list. And so what we did is we created this free online shorts film festival where we sent a free short film out every day at 1:00 from our recent festival. And a lot of those, we had interviews with them in the media lounge at the festival too. So we tacked that onto the film. So our patrons got to see a new short film every day and also see an interview whenever that was possible. So we ended up having 73 straight days of short films, which almost took us up to our theater reopening last week. It was really remarkable. We were very blessed to have that support of our filmmakers, and our patrons just loved it. So that was just one of the ways we figured out how to do this and keep people engaged.
Wow, that is amazing. And I'm sure people really enjoyed that. I know everyone was stuck at home, and being able to access amazing films in that way was a blessing, I'm sure.
It really was. And our partners also got really creative. We're the Northern Arizona home for the Met Live Opera on a normal season. And of course, their season had to close. And the people at Lincoln Center and the wonderful Met Opera people decided right away in March to just go ahead and release a free opera performance online every night that was available for 24 hours. And because we're one of their affiliates, we, of course, promoted that to all of our members. So that's literally been since the middle of March. There's a free opera every single night on the Met Live Opera's homepage. So we, of course, engaged in that and sent that out to our members. Andrew Lloyd Webber, you being in the theater world know this. He was wonderful and created the YouTube channel, The Shows Must Go On. And every Friday, about midday our time, it's 7:00 London time, he releases either one of his musicals or a musical of a friend of his that gives them permission for 48 hours. People can watch a wonderful musical free of charge. So we engaged in that. I mean, it was just wonderful. All of our partners really got creative and started sending things out, including the National Theatre of London. They offer a free one of their encore series every single week, and we send that out to our members. So we found really creative ways to keep everyone entertained while they were hunkered down at the stay-at-home orders and keeping safe and healthy.
Well, that's excellent. And I know that we both can connect around how, although it has been wonderful to see people get creative when we have been home, it's also not the same as being able to come out and connect in person. So what was going through your mind? What kind of information did you gather? How did you prepare to look at how you might be able to start bringing people in person to the theater?
That's a really good question. We really looked at a lot of different scenarios. And one thing that really helps is my board chair, Chuck Marr, is also a former retired hospital administrator. So he ran hospitals during his working years. And so he also came from it from a hospital health, safety, and wellness perspective, in addition to the arts perspective that we are as a film festival and as a theater. So we relied a lot on his guidance and what he was finding out from the medical world. And of course, we worked with the governor and his team, his reopening teams, on what they would allow us to do and when the timing was right to reopen a theatrical venue. So we took a lot of things into consideration. Of course, the CDC guidelines. It really meant both a physical change in how our theater seats were laid out and what seats you could occupy because of the social distancing, and really a mental and emotional change for all of us, because suddenly you're going from a 112-seat theater, which isn't all that big anyway, and now 33 seats is a sellout because that's the most that we can have in with the social distancing. So you really had to go into a different mindset and go, all right, it's okay to have only 33 people see this film because for right now, that is a sellout. So we really focused a lot on those type of things to keep our people safe.
And just give me a perspective, if I was to come tomorrow to see something at your theater, what would the experience be like as a patron right now?
Oh, yes. Well, and I can definitely speak to that from experience because we've had now 9 days under our belts with welcoming people back to our theater. We do have a mask requirement. Of course, masks are required for your safety and the safety of those around you as you walk in the theater and as you exit the theater, or if you get up to use the restroom or the concession stand. That's just common safety courtesy, of course, you can remove the masks as you're sitting and watching the movies because we do have you socially distanced. And again, we just ask that you put them back on when you leave. And it's really, people have been fantastic and really cooperative about that. We have masks available if you've forgotten yours. We have, of course, the disposable masks you can have. So that's nice. And also, Sharon, you'll just be happy to know that you're going to leave our theater cleaner than when you got there because we installed an UV air pure air scrubber system in all of our HVAC units. And so it's constantly scrubbing the air of particles, germs, viruses, and it not only does the air, it does surfaces as well, or people that are in the theater. So it's a constantly 24/7 removing the particles from our theater and from the air and from the surfaces and things. So I joke, but I always tell people, you're going to be cleaner when you leave the theater than when you came in. And again, we're being praised by that from our sponsors and our patrons and our attendees because they really feel we've gone above and beyond the call of duty in keeping them safe. In fact, the governor, when he was on the call with us, allowing us to reopen, actually said he wanted to use our theater as an example of the good and right things to do when reopening. And we're also on part of an art house convergence. We've got hundreds of colleagues around the country and we're on Zoom calls 2 or 3 times a week. So we're keeping up with each other on what everyone is doing in the industry to keep everyone safe and healthy when they're in the theatrical experience. So I think you can feel safe, Sharon, coming in and enjoying a great film the way they're meant to be seen and knowing that you're going to be kept safe and healthy.
Well, and I know you've been in the industry for a long time, and you had told me that you've been with the theater specifically for 16 years. How does this compare in all the time that you've been at the theater? How does this crisis compare to everything else you face?
Wow. That is a really good question because, and again, being with a nonprofit and being with a theater world, you all know as well how challenging just operating can be, covering expenses, making sure you stay in business. So, I thought we've had challenges over the last few years. They've been nothing compared to this. No budgetary challenge, no catastrophic challenge financially can probably compare to being hit by this pandemic, which was not only the pandemic and caused a whole shift on how we do business and how we operate and will operate, will change for the next couple of years, probably at least, but it also does touch on that financial aspect of it because your livelihood is taken away. Your place where people come to see films and they pay you to come and see films and they support you, that's taken away. So yeah, it is not, there's nothing that can compare to it. And also in the same regard, and I know this sounds strange and cheesy, there's nothing that can compare to how people have come out of this and the creativity and the love and support. We were, not only did our film festival end successfully, thank God we made it through, we were one of the last festivals to actually complete. Then we went into this shutdown and had to stop operations of our Mary D. Fisher Theater just as we were going into our annual fundraising campaign. Every year in April and May, we do a 50-day challenge, 50-50 challenge, we call it, 50 days to raise $50,000, and then our board of directors matches it. And we literally were scratching our heads going, do we do this year? In light of COVID, is it appropriate to do this, or is it just too tacky when people are out of work, businesses are closed, all those kind of things? So we struggled for a little bit on what to do, and we decided, let's go ahead, because the one thing that can be normal in this year is we can operate that fundraising campaign. It may not look the same this year. People may not give the way they did other years this year because of COVID, but we have to do this. We have to keep normal. And we found people came out much, much more generous. We had a better campaign than ever before, and people just loved us, and we're so grateful for all the things we were sending them to view. So out of bad things, very good things came out too.
Well, I'm glad to hear that the arts community is strong in its heart and in the way that we come together. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate you being part of this.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
And back to you, Chris.
We're coming back to you in just a moment. 3, 2, 1.
Live from the Theater Basement is a production of Theatricos Theater Company. Today's interviewer, Sharon Tewksbury Bloom. Thank you very much, Sharon. with Sedona International Film Festival Executive Director Patrick Schweiss. Patrick, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Live from the theater basement, producers Michael Roulan and Linda Sotera. Engineers Matt Brewer and Paul Rosa. Associate producers Virginia Brown and John Propster. Dramaturgy, Theatricos Artistic Committee. Playwright Selection, Northern Arizona Playwriting Showcase, Executive Producer Chris Verrill. Theatricos Theater Company, Flagstaff, Arizona, is the theater company of Northern Arizona and the Grand Canyon, embracing the spirit of Broadway with shows like Matilda, Legend of Georgia McBride, and Little Shop of Horrors. Live from the theater basement is a new show, currently in previews during our World Health Crisis, and
now is the time to learn some Latin dances from home on Zoom. Salsa, merengue, cha-cha, and mambo with Ballet Folclórico de Colores. Every Friday in June for only $10 a class. Ballet Folclórico de Colores.
Live from the theater basement, streaming live on Sunday evenings at 7:30 p.m. and available wherever you get your podcasts, is funded in part by Flagstaff Arts Council, #CreativeFlagstaff, Arizona Community Foundation, and listener viewers like you. I'm your host, Chris Verrill. Thanks for joining us for Live from the Theater Basement. This is Theatricals. Up next on Live from the Theater Basement, we present the 10-minute short play Pandora's Box by Knapp's award-winning playwright Warren Duty. A husband and wife play a not-so-innocent game of truth or dare and open a Pandora's box of trouble. That's next week, live, Sundays at 7:30 p.m. and wherever you get your podcasts.